live, so anything you say can be heard. This was not my music choice for the record, but I do like this song. And representing the Houston, H-Town, baby. Mmm. I forgot about some of the language in this song there for a second until it almost said it.
You did not.
I did until it almost said
You
it.
can't forget about the language in a Mike Jones song.
Well, right off the bat, Slim Thug comes out and references the body part that we probably don't need to be referencing on live YouTube. What's going on, guys? Welcome back to Your Lake Fort Guy. We got some explaining to do. Well, I got some explaining to do. I think the princess just wanted to be here tonight. I don't really know why.
He begged me to come out here with him.
That is such a lie. That's all you got? That's all you came here to have was just...
Well, you tell me you're the one that begged me to come out here.
Yeah, y'all thought I was doing some good acting last night. Just wait till you see her acting, folks. You know, this is where you chime in and add things.
I'm reading comments.
Don't read the comments. If you read the comments while you're supposed to be talking and mess y'all. Listen, I've done this once or twice. Folks, listen. I have lost my mind a little bit. Am I staying? Am I leaving? We'll explain that tonight. What the heck was going on in last night's video? We'll break all that down for you. We're even going to get into some Bassmaster talk. What in the world is going on at Bassmaster? It just, man, this year is not the same as in years past. There's been already a cheating scandal in the Opens. We'll talk about that a little bit and give you my 2 cents on that like I do on everything. And the Bassmaster Classic, that I don't personally know anybody that actually watched it, which is really weird. Some of that has to do with Dynamics live streams. We'll break all that stuff down and talk to you guys about that. You're the one that wanted to be on this. Do you have anything that you wanted to add?
You literally got on your hands and knees begging.
We're going to go with that.
For me to come out here.
That's your story and you're sticking to it?
You said, please, I need you out there with me. I was like, I guess.
What are you, like my emotional support animal or something?
Quite literally. Yes.
Okay. Well, how long are you staying? You going to stay for more conversation? Or are you just stopping in to say hi?
Yes.
I don't know what that's the answer to. Oh, my goodness. Obviously, look, I'm covering the screen when I do that. Obviously, we are back tonight. So, April Fool's was yesterday. Yesterday was April 1st. It was her idea. She's the one that put me up to this, folks.
No!
Yes, the same way that I begged you to come out here tonight, you put me up to that. If you get that, you get that. So, it was an April Fool's joke. We'll explain some of that. We'll talk about this some more tonight, too. What's crazy is it was an April Fool's video. But the only thing that wasn't true in that video was me quitting. Like, I'm not quitting anything. I'm not quitting guiding. I'm not quitting content. None of that. That was the April Fool's part. The kind of sad part, the rest of it is actually true. Like, and I'll address a couple comments that were made in some of the stuff. Most of the comments, I kind of feel bad about making that April Fool's. I don't know that I've ever really done an April Fool's video like that before, but not like that for sure. I don't think I've done any kind of April Fool's video, but I kind of feel bad about making that because, my gosh.
You feel bad.
The outpouring of... Listen, my phone was going off too.
I have all of his business pages, so I get all the messages, the emails. I have been so stressed since he put out that video because his guide customers are such a pleasure to work with. Like, I love them dearly. And for them to be messaging me asking...
Stressed her out.
Yes, like, I felt
Stressed
bad.
her out.
Because,
Stressed her out.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it was just a joke, but the outpouring of don't stop, just positivity, positive reinforcement. And here's the deal, and I was telling her this last night, I was like, there was no chance there was no way that I was ever going to be able to respond to every comment there were so many heartfelt comments. Like, literally people putting something meaningful into a comment, which is rare on YouTube or any social media where somebody actually put something thoughtful and meaningful that they mean from their heart. And that's what it felt like so many of those comments were, as far as, how much some of you guys appreciate what we've done with our channel and stuff. And there's no way that I could ever go back and respond to every one of y'all, man. I just ain't got that many hours in a day because there was a lot of those type of comments. And there was all kinds of, as the princess refers to, those type of messages, emails, DMs, whatever you want to call them, personal contacts. There was a lot of that going on, and I felt bad today as the day went on with all the messages that were coming through just on my end, and she was getting them too. Because I certainly didn't mean to make anybody feel stressed in any kind of a way that we weren't going to be making content anymore. That wasn't the point. It was really just a joke. I guess I made it a little too serious or didn't give enough hints that it was a joke or whatever. But those comments, you don't really realize, right? Like, we're not a huge YouTube channel. We're not a huge social media platform of any kind. We're bigger than a lot of people, but we're very, very, just not even a drop in the bucket of the grand scheme of social media. So that being said, you don't think of yourself as any type of I don't think of myself as any type of a big time YouTuber or famous person or anything like that. But you don't,
Speak for yourself.
You don't, you don't realize how much of an impact you have on those people that you do reach. And the bottom line is, 1,000 people is a lot of people. 100 people. 100 people is a lot of people. You put yourself in a room full of 100 people, and most people will freeze up trying to talk to those people. And the reality is, right now, we're talking to almost 100 people live, but we don't feel that because there's the disconnect with the technology. But the impact that you have on those that do follow you on a regular basis, you have no idea. Like, I had no idea. I have no idea of the impact that I have on people. And so I'm kind of glad that I did this, because it helps wake you up and reinforce, hey, you need to pay attention to everything that you say and do, because it has meaning to somebody that's watching it. Maybe it's only 10 people, maybe it's 100, maybe it's 1,000, maybe it's 10,000. But whatever it is, it has meaning to those people. So it's important, and you need to be thinking about what you're doing and saying on these platforms and stuff. So I appreciate all the positive outpour that we got from this. It wasn't anything that was intended at all. It was not intended at all. As far as the stuff that was referred to in that video that I've gone through, as far as threats and, any kind of slander and stuff that's happened to me online, and, disruption to my family life, which all of that has happened. All of that is fact, Jack. Listen, that is a reality of what I do. Probably somewhat a reality of how I do what I do, but it's not gonna derail what I do. Like, I would never, I got too much hard-headedness in me. I got too much fight in me to let that type of stuff dictate my choices as far as what I do for a career or how I operate my business that I own independently. So that's not anything you guys ever have to worry about with me. It was, if you ever hear me say something like that again, know full well it is a joke. It's an absolute joke. So I would never give up being in the fishing business for those reasons. I'm not saying, you never know what life's going to bring you. I'm not saying I'll never leave the fishing industry, but I don't think I will, but you never know. But I certainly would never leave it because of some people that were acting with bad integrity and bad behavior and just being, being jerkwads, I guess. I really don't know what else to call them, douchebags or whatever, but I would never let that slow us down. So, not going anywhere. It was all a joke. In fact, if anything, we've got some new stuff brewing, and I kind of hinted at it a little bit last night, but I'm working to put together a program right now where I can reach more of you guys and actually get one-on-one instruction to many more people for their Lake Fork trips, or even possibly give you guys some instruction and direct help on trips to other lakes as well. So we're always continuing to work to try to find ways to help people catch more and bigger fish, and this will be just another continuation of that. So nothing's changing, except we're going to just keep trying to be more creative and inventive and efficient at doing what we do, which is helping each other catch more and bigger fish. So you looking like you...
I'm about to peace out.
You gone?
Yeah.
I'm boring you with all this fishing business talk?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Y'all say bye to the princess. She's leaving. She's going back in the house. She don't like it out here in the garage. She says it's too dirty out here.
I wish y'all could see
No, don't you be...
this part of
Listen, don't be putting my dirty laundry out on the street now. Don't be airing that I keep a messy garage.
Like, I love cleaning. I love cleaning the house, but, like, this is too much.
You love cleaning the house. Interesting.
What are you going to say?
I've said it. That's all I'm saying.
You better glasses off.
It's hard to deny that one, ain't it, babe? All right, come on through, princess.
Peace out, guys.
Oh my gosh. Somebody told you to pick the camera up and show them how messy it is. It's bad. A bomb went off with 5 years worth of cobwebs around it. It's awful. So that's what's going on. We're not leaving. Man, let's talk a little bit about Bassmaster. I want to get into that tonight because you guys know I'm a fan. Most of you guys are fans of Bassmaster as well. I think a lot of you are anyway. So let's talk about that. We really haven't spoke about it very much this year. I haven't been staying up with the podcast that we used to do. Number one, Chris used to help me a lot with those, and Chris had a promotion at his work, and he can't really get here to do them anymore. And I understand that, and he's still my boy. He's doing good. He's doing good things with his life, so I'm proud of him and proud for him and love him to death. He's a good friend of mine, always will be. Yeah, cheers. Go Stros. But, man, the other part of it is I love Bassmaster, and I love kind of what they do over there. And I'm a fishing fan. And I kind of saw this coming when I saw the schedule, right, that they released at the end of last year. A little bit I could kind of tell. But, man, it's just not holding my interest very well, right? You got a Lake Okeechobee event that was interesting. It was interesting, but not what it used to be. We all know Okeechobee's not what it has been. It's gone. It's kind of in a little bit of a down cycle. I mean, look, dog. When I watch an Okeechobee tournament, I want to see them hit. I want to see them boat flipping giants out of mats with big weights and big line. I want to see big topwater blow ups. I want to see, swim baits rolled across those flat, getting demolished right at the surface. Those are the things you want to see at an Okeechobee event, and mainly want to see those big bass get caught. Really big ones. And they caught some good fish in that tournament, but it just wasn't the same. The other one, what was the other one they had? They had the Seminole tournament. It was, from an in-depth perspective, from a guy that's really into fishing, it was interesting to watch Cifuentes, the cowboy, do his live scope thing on that lake where nobody saw that coming going into that event. Really, nobody, I didn't, I thought, that time of year, warming trend, moon cycle, and we saw a lot of guys targeting bass spawning or around the spawn up in the flat, up in shallow water. But, that was cool to see from a technical perspective for about a half a day. And it's all right, I get it. And you know what? They probably ain't going to catch him. So it's kind of he's got it all to himself. He's the only one kind of doing it, and it's kind of a done deal, man. It just wasn't. If you don't have overwhelming big fish catches to go along with that, which you did not at all in that event, not at all in that event. So that one just really didn't hold my attention very well. Then we go to the Bassmaster Classic. And I've been fortunate enough to meet several of these guys over the last few years and get to know a few of them a little bit. And Jeff Gusselman, everything they said about him being the nice guy and one of the best guys, that I don't have anything to say to the contrary to that. That guy is super nice and super friendly, and just he's one of those positive. There's certain people you meet that are just positive energy people that make everybody else feel good. Whoever's around, if you're around Jeff Gusselman, you feel better about everything. Feel better about yourself, better about your life. He is positive energy personified. He picks you up just being in his presence. So can't say enough about Jeff that way from the little that I do know him. And I don't know Jeff personally or anything like that, but I've met him a few times and had some conversations, and that's the feeling you get around him. So as awesome as it was to see him win that event, number one, it was just a bad fishery. That's just a bad fishery. I mean, you're in Tennessee. There's so many better fisheries than that. I understand the aspect of a classic. You got to host it at a city that has facilities to host a classic. Man, there is a lot of cities around the country that have way better fisheries than that nearby, right? We've made classics work in a lot of places. We've had them on Gunnersville, we've had them on Conroe, we've had them on Ray Roberts, we've had them on Grand, we've had them on, all the places we've had. We had them in New Orleans. You want to go to a river fishery in a big city that draws a big crowd? Let's go to New Orleans, man. That classic was awesome down there when Kevin Van Dam won like 15 years ago, whatever that was, 12, 13 years ago, whatever it's been now. The introduction to Brandon Palaniuk, like we all remember that classic. Nobody is going to remember this classic other than Jeff Gustafson won if you're a hardcore fan. That's it. That's it. There's no casual fans remembering KVD slams the door on number 4. There's no classic fans remembering, any big fish catches. Hank Cherry wins 2 in a row at Ray Robert. Like, Jordan Lee and the Conroe comeback. Like, nobody, no casual bass fan is falling in love with the sport because of that Bassmaster Classic. In fact, I would make the argument that they all turned it off because now, stay with me here. What we have is live coverage, right? Like that's what everybody watches, live coverage. Live coverage is the deal right now, right? And I get that. That's it, right? That's new. So what we used to have is an edited version of the day's events. So you would have an hour and a half show, and you would have the highlights from that edited into a storytelling process that Bassmaster was phenomenal at. And I love those episodes. The only disadvantage to that was as the world changed and results became immediately known everywhere, then there was no reason for some people to watch the show that came out months later or weeks later because they already knew the results, so they changed to live coverage. The problem with live coverage in bass fishing is unless you're obsessed with bass fishing, and I mean real obsessed, it's boring if they ain't leaning on them. Like, if they're not catching them pretty darn good, it's just not going to hold people's attention very well, folks. I mean, that's the reality of it. So there's an obstacle and a hurdle to overcome there. Live sonar is not helping that because most of the day, if they're not catching them, you're literally watching the guy look at his screen and look for fish and make a few casts every now and then and usually not catch anything. I mean, we watched Jeff Gustafson look at a live sonar screen all day long for, what was it, 3 bass he caught on last? Was it 2 or 3 bass? I can't remember if it was 2 or 3 bass he caught on last day. For freaking 8 hours, my man looked at his screen and we saw him lean on 3 fish. Like, it's bad television, boys. It's real bad television. It was so bad that as much as I love it and as much as I wanted to see Gussie win, and I tried to watch it, and I kind of left it playing in the background for a while. But, man, there were so many commercials involved. The commercial breaks were crazy. I just turned it off and tuned back in to the very last part of the weigh-in to make sure Gussie won, which I was pretty sure he did by just checking on Bass Track every once in a while. That live broadcast was so boring that me as a guy who makes a living fishing didn't even want to watch it. I just checked Bass Track once every couple hours. And then, because I know Bass Track's not accurate, I made sure I watched the weigh-in. I watched I literally caught like the last 10 minutes of the weigh-in. That's it. It was sad, man. That was by far my least favorite classic viewing experience. And I've seen almost every one of them in the last 15 years for sure. There was a few I didn't see when I was in the Marine Corps. Saw a lot of them before I was in the Marine Corps in the late 90s, early 2000s. But since like 2010 or so maybe 13, 14 years now, 13 or 14 class, I've seen every one of them. And that was by far the worst viewing experience I've had of a classic. It just, man, live sonar fishing, grind of a fishery, little bass. There was nothing. There was nothing to hold my attention there. And I know it's not just me. No, I know it was not just me because I know guys that are pretty avid bass fishermen. And after the classic was over and I'm asking them about it, they're like, what? Wait, the classic happened? Like, they didn't even know. There was no buzz about it at all. And the ones that did know about it were like, yeah, dude, I tried. It was just, man, it just bored me. Like, it was boring. That was the Bassmaster Classic that nobody watched. And they'll come out with some numbers to tell you how many views they got. And we had so many attendees in Knoxville. And I'm sure the in-person attendees were probably pretty close to legit. But they'll church up some numbers on viewership. But I'm just telling you, from a field perspective, from a dude that is in one of the meccas of bass fishing, I work in the industry, most of the people I know involved in my life are into bass fishing one form or another. They missed it on this one. And this schedule is going to be a problem for them this year. They're just not going to very many good fisheries. Yeah. The only tournament that's coming up that I know of offhand that I'm like, yeah, I'm going to watch that one is Santee Cooper. That's it. There's still 6 events to go. And Santee Cooper is the only event that I'm kind of like really looking forward to watching. I just can't get into the smallmouth deal. I get it. Some people are into it. It's not my thing. That's fine. I've always kind of been that way on the smallmouth tournaments. But, man, the rest of the schedule for bass is just not very good. So, man, this is kind of shaping up to a year that, like, as much as I hate to say this, like, Bassmaster is going to have to pull some tricks out of their sleeve, I think, to not go a little backwards on the viewership and go a little back. You know, if you go backwards on the viewership, that affects next year's revenue on advertising dollars or sponsorship dollars. And Lord knows things have been tight enough in the tournament fishing world. Like, I think we need to all support bass the best we can and get through this year, because I think they need to rethink how they set up their schedule. I think, you know, just a guess, but it seems like they're setting their schedule up to go to cities that will get a good live audience at the weigh-ins, at the events, and cities that will, I'm sure, pay them to show up. Well, that live coverage and the marketing and sponsorship dollars behind that trumps all of that tenfold. I know the business well enough to know that. And if you don't start going to some big fish fisheries at big fish times, you're going to lose a lot of that. And that's going to hurt you. That's going to hurt you a lot worse than some city paying you another, you know, 50 grand will. So, I don't know. Then let's add on top of that, we can't forget this. One of their bright young stars on the Opens that was a college star and has been a good angler now has a little, he's got a little scar on him that I don't think he's going to be able to get rid of for a while. I don't want to call him out by name because I certainly don't want to contribute to him having a harder time than he's already going to have, because he set himself up for a hard time. But there was a guy in the top 10 at the first Open in Lake Eufaula, Alabama. And if you missed it, essentially this guy had there was a random gentleman on the lake that was basically dog cussing a competitor and cussing him out for fishing that hole, saying if so-and-so had fished, that guy over there was fishing here the other day, and I don't think it's right what you did. And he was giving him a false name, saying I'm so-and-so, and you know, I'm the king of Eufaula, and you're not. We don't allow that around here. I'll run you off here. And he was cutting donuts, you know, right close to his boat, and just acting like a complete jerk to this guy. And the reality of the story is that kid had fished it in previous days, and had found it fair and square in practice as far as anybody knows. And the other reality of it is the guy he was saying he shouldn't be fishing there because this guy was fishing there the other day, well, that guy was staying at his house. So the dude he's yelling at is fishing a spot that the little dude who's staying at his house wanted to fish. So he goes over and yells, tries to run him off the hole for this buddy that's staying at his house. That is a bad look. And to that young man that was staying at his house, that guy was berating another angler on his behalf, I'm just going to say this right here. You'd have a hard time convincing me you didn't know how that was going to go down before it happened, considering you're staying with the man. But plausible deniability, if you didn't know he was going to do that, you damn sure should have stopped him from doing it once it started happening. If we all know you know the guy, you're staying at his house, you need to go over there and tell him to kick rocks, and he's out of line, and that ain't how we're going to do it. And at that point, you need to leave that area altogether, whether it costs you the tournament or not, because now you're affecting another angler's opportunity to compete fairly. And that is as bad of a way to cheat as there is. That's every bit as bad as stuffing them weights in it like the walleye guys did. For you to go out and be co-conspirators on a detrimental effort towards another angler to keep them from fishing the way they want to fish in a fair manner, Man, that's really, really bad. That's really unethical. And for you to sit there and watch it happen and not do anything about it, knowing that you know that man, you can't deny that. You know that man, you're staying at his house. Man, that's really bad. So that young man's going to have to work really hard to remove that scar on his profile there. That's a bad one. And all Bass did was suspend that day's catch, which I guess maybe legally that might be all they can do. I would have liked this. I mean, the reality is this kid could still go on and finish in the top 9 and qualify for the Elite Series, and I don't think that should be okay. Like, I don't think that should be. You can't have a guy that lacks that much integrity be on the Elite Series next year. That's bad look, man. That's a real, or qualify for the Classic if he wins another Open. Like, you need to take those qualification parameters away from him. You need to suspend him from the ability to qualify for the Open or for the Elite Series or for the Classic, in my opinion. I don't know what Bass's legal obligation. I do think one thing that we need desperately in bass fishing is we need written punishments for written rule violations. You need rules that are written down, and if you violate this rule, this is your punishment. There's no more of this up to the tournament director's discretion. Now, decisions on whether or not you violated a rule are still up to the tournament director. That's his job. That's why he's there. But Bassmaster issuing you a certain kind of punishment, or like we saw last year with Sprague, Major League Fishing, Sprague's cheating, getting information from somebody who just happened to be on the Elite Series. And from Texas. Anyway, Sprague cheating and getting information from that person, and nothing happens till the end of the year after the year's over. Now they want to take away his points and his money because they got called out for it because it became public. There needs to be written consequences for rule violations in bass fishing. That is a major, major issue that we have. If you want the sport to grow and be considered a real professional sport, more along the lines of a golf or a tennis or whatever you want to compare it to, you got to have integrity. You got to have some integrity. You got to listen. Whether you think baseball players should use steroids or not, they have a structure for how you get suspended for using steroids in baseball. They have a structure for how you get suspended in football when you violate banned substances. Like, if you cheat, there's got to be a structure to how you get punished. It's got to be clear-cut where you can't have any – there's too much of that rumor about bass fishing where it's just a good old boys club anyway, like brother-in-law stuff, man. So we got to get rid of that. It's bad. I'm rambling about it, I guess. I haven't talked much about Bassmaster this year, so I guess I'm just going all in. But, yeah, that's really – I've been as big of a fan of Bassmaster as I am. I've been disappointed this year. And I think I'm going to continue to be with the schedule that they've set up. I'm not a big fan of their schedule. So I like to see big fish get caught. How about y'all? Anybody else like to see big fish? I like to see them go. Like, we make a schedule for Bassmaster. Here's a good example. To me, this is my home state, so I'll talk about this because I know this better than anything else on that schedule. We're going to make a Bassmaster Elite Series schedule. And the one fishery, we're only going to go to one Texas fishery. We don't want to give Texas all the love, man. We can't go to Rayburn, Toledo, Fork, wherever else. Like, we can't make it the Bassmaster Texas Series. I get it. Okay, so we're only going to go to one Texas fishery. And out of all the fisheries in Texas, we're going to go to Orange, Texas in the lower Sabine River, where you're going to drive 200 miles to catch 11, 12 pounds a day to win. Like, what? Listen, just go right up the road to Lake Conroe and be in a major city and get a crowd, and you'll catch bigger bass. Go to Lake Livingston, you probably catch them a little better than that. Lord knows Toledo, Bend, and Rayburn are there. Man, Lake Palestine, Tyler, good city, draw a big crowd. Longview, Lake of the Pines, draw a big crowd. Caddo, close enough to Bossier City and Shreveport, you can probably find a way to get a crowd to Caddo too. Like, all these fisheries are so much better than the lower Sabine River. Lower Sabine River is arguably the worst bass fishery in the state of Texas. And that's the only one you're going to go to in Texas? That tells me right there that there's something behind, like, they're not making these schedule decisions based on, let's put on the best bass fishing event we can. They're making these decisions based on how many people can we get in attendance and how much money will this city pay us. It's the only thing it can be from the outside looking in. Now, this is all, just me guessing, right? None of this is hardcore fact. This is just my opinion and just me taking a look from the outside looking in, with maybe a hint of insider information once in a while. Not really anymore, especially after I make this video probably, but, it is what it is. I always speak my mind truthfully, so here we are. So that's it. I think Major League Fishing has started off really well this year. I think they have done good. Big disappointment last year with the Sprague issue, but this year so far, Major League Fishing is looking good. I like their new team event that's on a TV show. It's one advantage I think Major League Fishing has over Bassmaster is they still have an edited TV show production. So if you're a person that doesn't want to sit through live coverage, right? If that's your deal, like you like bass fishing, you like seeing it, but you don't want to sit there and have your phone or your TV or your computer on for 4 or 5 hours watching live coverage, you can watch the Major League Fishing Team Series, and you've got an edited fishing competition with very, top-end, top-notch professional anglers, similar to their old Cup championships and things like that. But now you got a team event, so it's something new too. So I think they've got a little advantage on Bass there. They have something to offer a category of viewer that Bass doesn't. So I think, if we're talking about the wars between Bass and MLF, to me it seems like right now MLF might be making up a little ground on them. But, I don't, like I said, it's just me from the outside looking in, so it is what it is. I don't know what else we said we were going to talk about tonight. I can't remember, but we'll try to think of it for a minute. I know you guys have been dropping some comments in here. Bass needs to ban live scope and forward-facing sonar. When did Randy Blockett start watching me? Spooky Reds. It's the profile name Spooky Reds. When did Randy Blockett start watching? No, they're not going to ban live sonar. That's not going to happen. Not going to happen. That's never going to happen. So, I don't think they should ban it. What I think they need to do, and I think they're trying to figure it out already, like Hummingbird's trying to get it to where they can do it already. They got to get that live sonar screen on the live coverage, right? Like, that's the deal. Like, if you're watching a guy and you can see what his bait's doing and what he's seeing fish-wise, to me, that's going to hold my interest a little bit. So we'll see. We'll see how that shakes out. Maybe that makes those a little more bearable to watch. Doug Renner says he thought I quit. Man, listen, it's April Fool's, baby. The April Fool's joke that went too far. Man, there's some people. I had buddies calling me like, "Hey, man, are you okay? Something wrong? Like, what's wrong with you?" It was a funny day. Who said Milliken cheats? How does Milliken cheat? I don't know of any. By the way, Ben Milliken did have one heck of an event, that first event. I said this before this season ever started, but it wouldn't surprise me if that guy goes on and qualifies. Like, here's the reality. The reality is that guy has worked himself into a position where over the last 4, 5, 6 years, whatever it's been since he quit his regular job and went full-time into YouTube, he's found a way to do something that nobody really ever gets to do before they go to the opens, right? He's found a way to fish full-time, 250 days a year, traveling the country, going to different types of fisheries, smallmouth fisheries, mountain fisheries, lowlands, coastal, friggin' grass fisheries, rocks. Like, he's been to all of them for 5 years now, right? And smallmouth, largemouth, everything in between. And here's what I do know. Ben Milliken is legit in his work ethic and pursuit of fishing. It's not like me and Ben are real good buddies. We've had a relationship when I worked at Sixth Sense and he was with Sixth Sense, and I've known Ben from the very beginning of his YouTube channel. We're not real good friends. We don't chat all the time on a regular basis, nothing like that. Nothing against Ben. I don't know why our relationship never developed more than it did, whatever reason, but I don't have any hard feelings towards Ben. I don't think he has any towards me. I do admire and respect his drive to stay on the water. That dude's a daylight to dark guy when he don't need to be. Like those, most of the other YouTubers, including myself, that are on the water so much, like when you get out there and you get enough film for content, most of those guys are done for they get off the water and go work on editing. Not Ben. That sucker stay. It used to drive me crazy sometimes when I was doing film days with him because he wants to stay till dark. I'm like, God dang, dude, I'm tired. Like, can I go get a few hours of sleep? We've been out here for 10, 11 hours, man. We've got more than enough. Like, he's hardcore at it, man. He goes at it harder than just about anybody else I know. So his abilities to catch fish are legitimate, and he's earned them. He's dug them out of the dirt the hard way. The hard way. People still asking, is this? Yes, yesterday was April Fool's joke, man. It was. It really was. I explained it in depth in the beginning of this video. So after we post it, after it goes, when I cut the live off, you can go back and watch the beginning, you'll see me talk about it. But I've never known Ben Milliken to cheat, and he certainly doesn't have to cheat. It's really hard to say somebody's going to qualify for the Elite Series through the Opens on their first try. But I think Milliken has had a unique opportunity to develop his fishing abilities. And I also think, for better or worse, don't mean this as an insult in any way, he's arrogant enough. He's arrogant enough to believe, to not feel pressure. Like, he's arrogant enough. He believes he should be there. In my opinion of Ben, in his head, I think that he thinks he belongs on the Elite Series and that he's ready, whether he is or not. But you got to have that kind of confidence to do that, to qualify. You got to fish with that kind of confidence. And I don't mean that Ben's real cocky about his fishing abilities when he talks to me. He's not. But I know that he believes in himself fishing-wise, and I know that he's aware of how much more on-the-water experience he has than just about everybody else on the planet. I would make the argument that Ben Milliken has probably spent more time on the water for the last 5 years than 90% of Bass Pro Tour and Elite Series pros have. I bet you he has. I'm telling you, he's obsessed, dude. He spends a crazy amount of time on the water. So nothing that he's going to do is going to surprise me this year. Whether he doesn't qualify, the only thing that would surprise me is if he ended up way out. If he's not top 25 in points, if he's below that, that would kind of surprise me. And if he's below 50, that would really surprise me. But if he, finishes 15th and doesn't qualify, that won't surprise me. That's, what it should be probably. If he does finish 1st through 9th and qualifies for the Elite Series, it's not going to surprise me. Not at all, man. I'm just telling you. Dude's for real. Dude is definitely for real. But there's a lot of guys for real fishing those Opens, so you never know. All right. Good question. I like this question. This is a fun one because I love bed fishing. Any tips for catching lethargic bed fish that are committed to the bed and not spooked off but just won't commit to bite? Yes. Be more aggressive. Be more aggressive. You don't have to change baits out. You can use the same Texas rig with a little crawl bait or something like that, about 3/8 ounce, half ounce, something like that. But pitch that bait past the bed 3, 4, 5 feet if you can. Swim it in fast, drop it fast. When it hits the ground, when it hits the surface of the water, immediately thumb your spool and lift your rod. So if you do that, that bait it'll come out, hit the surface, go flying along the surface. You'll be able to see it swimming in hot. As soon as it gets the back of the bed or around that fish, drop it right by them. And so it goes shoo, shoo, right by them. That's going to get their attention a little bit. If it doesn't, drop it right behind them and then whop, just snap it, pop it into their side. Start beating on them with it. And if they won't move when you do that on the head or the body, they just kind of flinch a little bit, don't really move, hit them in the tail. If you hit them in the tail solid, I ain't met the bass yet that won't turn around. When you get something behind them, hits them in the back half of their body, they're going to turn around and see what it is. I don't think they can help that. So I've never seen one that won't. And then once you get them to start spinning and looking at your bait, it's a matter of time. Keep doing that. Keep them spinning, keep them looking at your bait. Now, if you ever you can get to a point where you get too aggressive with a fish. So if you ever hit one and it swims off and it takes a minute to come back, you got to dial back your aggressiveness level. But as far as, lightly shaking or leaving the bait sitting there, if they're just looking at it and not really responding to it, you got to do something to make them respond. You cannot let that fish sit still. You cannot let a bedfish sit still. If you let a bedfish get comfortable with your bait and just sit there and stare at it and not really move, that is the kiss of death. Make that fish react. Sometimes it's swimming it in, dropping it in front of them, and just snapping it, hopping it up and down and snapping it out, and they'll start chasing your bait out of the bed. You just got to play with them and keep ramping up the aggressiveness level till you get a reaction. Once you get a positive reaction, get that fish to flip and look at your bait and kind of nose out. Now you can just keep doing that till they bite. Yeah, Milliken finished a spot ahead of Jack York. Yeah, Jack York's another good one. I don't know how much time Jack York has up north. I know Jack is a big live sonar guy, and that's where tournament fishing is trending. Seems like every event's affected by it one way or the other. Jack, I know for a fact, has been on live sonar before everybody else, like by a year or two. So he's been adamant about that live sonar deal. I remember him seeing that before when it first came out, and it was like a crappie thing only. There was not a bass fisherman I knew using it except for Jack York. And he used to make me look silly on them bridge pilings in November and December. I'd be throwing A-rig on bridge pilings, and I just kind of scan around, see a few fish on side imaging, and I just start slow rolling A-rigs by bridge pilings. Every once in a while you catch one, and you grind out a good day. Meanwhile, Jack's over there live scoping them, and I didn't even know what live scope was at the time. And he's like catching one after another every cast with this guy. And my customers are looking at me like, dude, what are we doing? Because they're doing it better than whatever he's doing it better. I'm like, dude, I don't know. We're throwing the same bait. It wasn't until afterwards when I figured out what live sonar was and what live scope was that I realized, that's what he was doing to make me look like a fool that day. So yeah, Jack's a good guy. Now Jack York is an easy guy to root for. There's nobody that doesn't like Jack York. He's good people, man. He's good people. So I hope he does well. Be interesting to see how well he does when they fish some of the northern tournaments. I don't know how much time he's got up there, how much experience he has on them small jaws. That tangles up some Texas people, man. Like, there's Southern guys in general that just haven't ventured up north very much. Like, that's one thing that I have a lot of faith in Milliken for. Number one, he's from the Midwest, but he spent a lot of time fishing for smallmouth in the northern reaches, or at least a significant amount of time. He's been there and done that a little bit, and gone out with some really good. That's another thing Ben's done with YouTube that helps him. Not only for the last 5 years he spent time on the water, he has spent time on the water with guys that are really good fishermen. That's a big deal. Like, if you hired a different guide every week for a year, you'd be a hell of a lot better fisherman the following year. And without ever having to hire a guide, that's essentially what Milliken has done by, going out and creating content with a guy like myself that's on the water at Lake Fork. So, first time he goes, or one of the first few times he goes to Lake Fork, I'm kind of showing him some stuff. And not that I'm a great help to Ben Milliken, but, I'm showing him some stuff about this type of lake or these fisheries. He goes out with other guys like me. He goes out with guys like Jack, so he's fished with a lot of really good fishermen during that time too. But yeah, a lot of the southern guys, they get tangled up, man, when they go up north. You'll see it, in a lot of those guys. Maybe that changes a little bit now because of live sonar, because, as long as he can find them and see them on live sonar, a bass is a bass, and smallmouth are usually supposed to be more aggressive than largemouth. Hell, I don't know. I don't fish for them, but, that's what I've heard anyway. So maybe live sonar equals that playing field for those southern boys a little bit when they first go up north. But traditionally, some of those southern guys that don't have experience up north, they struggle sometimes. So we'll see what Jack does up there. Whoo! That one got me. As you can tell, I have been fighting the allergies in the drainage. Any suggestions on what to fish as a co-angler at Lake Dardanelle? I don't know anything about Lake Dardanelle to speak of other than some river fishery and what I've seen on Bassmaster years ago. And I don't know what time of year you guys are going to be there. So, unfortunately, no, I don't really have anything to tell you about that. I will tell you, river fishery is about current, man. If the current is flowing, in a lake like Dardanelle, then current is current, and it sets bass up the same way. If you know how, like, study and educate yourself on how to fish current correctly, if you don't know that already. And then if you get to Dardanelle and you've got current, things should fall in place for you pretty well, or at least you would hope so. But no, I'm like one of the least qualified people to give you information on Dardanelle. All right, guys. Got a catch in my throat. I need to go blow my nose real bad. I need to go take a shower and get ready for tomorrow's trip. So I'm going to wrap this one up, man. Appreciate you guys joining us tonight, as always. I'm not going anywhere. It was just an April Fool's joke, man. Like I said, I kind of feel bad about it because it got a little carried away with some of the reaction to it. But it was all in good fun. At least the intention was anyway. So hope y'all enjoyed it for what it was worth. And, yeah, we'll just see you next time right here on your Lake Fork Guide. Cheers, y'all.